Hi there, thanks for joining me. Today I'm getting inky with some spray inks to create one colorful background with lots of grungy inky texture. And then we'll turn that single inky panel into two stunning cards that feature some gorgeous white accent. So let's get started and assemble these cards. I'm starting out with some watercolor paper. This is 4¼ by 11 inches long. We're going to wet it down with some water and then just grab some of your favorite spray inks. I'm using dilutions in pomegranate seed, pure sunshine, vibrant turquoise, and then I have a distress spray in abandoned coral, but you don't have to have these exact colors. Just pick a yellow, a coral, a purpley red, and then a turquoise or a bright blue. So I sprayed each of these on my wet watercolor paper, and I'm just going to spray on a little bit more water on top so it's kind of splotchy. Not a perfect wet spray, just kind of dots of water. And then I grabbed my heat tool and gave that a good dry. The water is going to start to spread and allow that ink spray to kind of blend and move together. You don't want to force it too much. I did want to pick it up and move it around, kind of heat it from the back and let those inks kind of run to the side. So you can flip it back and forth as you give this a good dry. It doesn't have to be perfectly dry, as you can see. I just wanted it to be dry enough so when I smush on top of it, it'll have something to layer on top of. I am working on a craft mat and I sprayed all that leftover ink with water. You can see I have areas of yellow, of red, blue, kind of greens, and I'm picking those areas to layer over on top of my background where I want to add maybe that color in. You'll want to be careful with something like green on top of yellow because that'll create brown. But if you added blue on top of the red, you'll get more of a purple. So that kind of a thing. And I'm just tapping off some of the color as I'm drying it with my heat tool. And that will kind of lift some of the color. It'll create all those splotchy, inky blots that I have going on in the background and all that fun texture. I'm just going to keep repeating this process a few times until I'm done. I don't want to work it too much, but I do want to add all this fun little texture. I'm going to add on some more water droplets. Let that sit a little bit, kind of dry it with my heat tool, and then I'll come in with a paper towel and kind of lift up some of that color so I get more of those water droplet looks. I did want to mention I am working on a craft mat because it holds those ink areas in place. A glass mat will let it spread and bleed all over, and you won't get that controlled smush of color in the areas that you want it. So now I made sure that that was dried completely, and I'm just going to cut it in half, and that will give me two 4¼ by 5½ panels to work with for my cards. Now I'm going to prep these with an anti-static tool. Just has some powder in it, so when I do heat emboss with embossing powder, I don't get all these stray specks of embossing powder. I'm going to ink up this Love and Wisdom background stamp by Unity with some white pigment ink. And then I'm going to cover it with white embossing powder just to make that scripty background really pop against all that vibrant color. And then I'll heat that gently with my heat tool. And I did that for both panels, and I ended up going back and adding a little bit more to that first panel. I wanted to make sure that you could see it no matter where I put my elements. I stamped this gorgeous butterfly on some vellum. This butterfly is from the Monarch's Echo stamp set by Unity Stamp Company. I'm going to cover that with embossing powder and give that a good gentle heat as well. I just really love the look of white on vellum. It's just super pretty to me. I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to fussy cut this out. I love this vellum. It's from scrapbook.com, I believe, and it has a nice heavy weight to it, but you can still see through it, and it holds up beautifully to the heat embossing. The shape of the butterfly is very simple, so the fussy cutting didn't take very long. Now I trimmed down my panels just a little bit so I can have a nice white border around 2 or 3 sides. You can see I have a little bit different layout on each one. I used the Tim Holtz wildflower stems to die cut 4 different flowers from white cardstock, and I'm just going to use some liquid glue to adhere them to my card front. Just little taps. I don't mind if parts of it lifts up a little bit. I like that dimension, so it doesn't have to be perfectly flat. I think it's really interesting when parts of those die cuts kind of lift on their own and are not perfectly flat on the card. I'm really loving how the white is popping against all that vibrant color. I wanted to make sure there was a border on my card front to kind of tie all those whites in together. I also picked 2 of the larger and thicker dies to put on this particular card. For my second card, I'm actually going to use this one flower stem and cut it in half. I really like the leaves, but when you put it on the card front, they disappear. So I'm separating that stem from the tops of those leaves, and I'm just going to put these down in the bottom corner of the card. This inky background had more of a rainbow look to it, and I didn't want to lose that and cover it up too much. So I'm putting the flowers in the bottom corner, just kind of layering them up so they're at a little bit of a different height. And next, let's bring back our beautiful butterfly. I'm going to fold it in half and kind of give it a little crease. And then I'm going to take a pencil and kind of curl the leaves so they get a little bit of lift. I just thought that would be really pretty and a great way to add a bit of dimension to those wings. Again, I'm going to make sure that that crease is there, add a little bit of foam tape, and then I'll pop that up right on my card front. This butterfly is gorgeous and huge. It really takes up the full front of the card. But what's nice is it's popped up, so we can still see those beautiful colors of the background when you look at it from the side, which is really interesting to the person who receives the card because they'll want to twist it and turn it and see all the fun textures and colors that are in the background. Next, I just added the For You sentiment and then a few sequins. I just love the sparkle, shine, and movement that these add. And it has a hint of a gold, kind of yellowish tone, which kind of mimics like sunshine to me. And here's a look at the final cards. I really love the flow of the inky color with the hidden florals tucked behind that dreamy butterfly. And the lifted wings add such a lovely movement and texture. The second background has that gorgeous rainbow vibe, and I really love the florals that are grounded in the corner with just a little sparkle detail from the sequins. As always, you can find all the supplies and details over at my blog, dahlhouse-designs.com. Thank you so much for creating with me. I'll see you again soon. Bye.